You're not looking forward to getting you all back in about 10 years' time to see if either of you two are married.
Yes. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Christine Grace. Today's another reaction video. Today I'm reacting to some more slightly older footage of Pearl on Piers Morgan. I think in this video she's debating when she said that men tend to be better people. And yeah, we all know that a lot of Pearl's comments trigger a lot of people, so I'm excited to get into it. Let's go.
Piers Morgan Uncensored. Model Emilyrowski, one of my favourite dimwits, sparked controversy recently by claiming that getting divorced before 30 is chic.
So it seems that a lot of ladies are getting divorced before they turn 30. And as someone who got married at 26, has been separated for a little over a year, 32, I don't think there's anything better. If there is nothing better than being in your 30s, still being hot, maybe having a little bit of your own money, figuring out what you want to do with your life. For all of those people who are stressed or feeling stressed about that, about being divorced, like it's good. Congratulations.
It's like, congratulations.
What? Oh my gosh.
God, she's ridiculous. Well, divorce is certainly becoming more common, and marriage itself is becoming a fierce frontier in the raging culture wars. On the one side, there are feminists rejecting and dating concept. On the other, so-called trad wives who think it binds our societies together. Well, trad wives spend their days dutifully cooking and cleaning while their husbands go to work. Esther Williams, who's a 25-year-old trad wife, has amassed hundreds of thousands of followers by showing off her trad wife life online. She even gave up a job to be the perfect wife. So is she and others like her saving society? Or are they selling out the sisterhood? Well, joining me now is traditional wife.
I love it when Piers does that face, because it's like in his head, like, you know, he's just like stirring the pot. Like he's specifically wording things in such a way to stir the pot and to aggravate people. He knows like, oh, this one's going to go a bit mad on Twitter.
Influencer Esther Williams. And in the studio, the socialist.
Oh, they actually got her on. Everyone talks about this lady, Esther Williams. Everyone talks about her. I haven't actually seen this footage, I don't think.
Author Grace Blakely and YouTuber Pearl Davis. This might be the best lineup in the history of television for a debate of this nature. So I'm very excited. All right, Esther Williams, let's start.
I told you I was excited.
Start with you as the trad wife. Sell it to me. Why do you think we should all go back to having trad wives in marriages?
Well, I believe that, I actually don't believe that everyone should be a traditional wife. I think that it is a choice, and I think it's a lovely choice if a woman wants to simply be a wife and a mother, and that's enough for her. And it's a simple way of living with traditional gender roles. It's balanced, and we don't have to do it all as women. I think we've proven that it's possible, but at what cost, right?
Right, and in terms of what being a trad wife involves, what do you think it means to be a trad wife?
Well, to adhere to traditional gender roles. So what I mean by that is the husband, he is the provider of the home. He goes out, he works, and he knows how to protect his family if need be. And the wife, she's the homemaker. She does the cooking. She does the cleaning.
I'm just getting really sweet, elegant, ladylike, feminine vibes from this woman, and it's making me feel all nice and gooey inside. Isn't it a sad reality that there are a lot of women who are listening to this woman speak, and I know for a fact that like feminism in them is like raging with fire and and it's a negative response. It's like there's two types of people in the world: people who see a puppy, and now everyone's going to come for me. All the feminists are going to come for me. Oh, you're comparing her to a puppy, but just hear my little analogy, okay? It's like seeing an adorable little puppy, something that ignites that feeling of that's really sweet, that's really pleasant, like love that. Having that reaction versus that puppy, I want to kick it. Two types of people in the world. Feminists are the ones that kick puppies. I was going to clip that up and run with it.
Cleaning, and she takes care of the home and children if there are any, and herself, of course. So that's
you just know it triggers feminists because they can't believe it. They can't believe that she's happy like that. Oh, she's definitely being forced by her husband. She's been oppressed. This is what the patriarchy does. Like they say they're for women, right? But they literally tell women what to think and how to feel. They literally tell other women how they should be thinking and feeling.
It's adhering to traditional gender roles.
Okay, Grace, I'm sure you thoroughly agree with this, don't you?
Look, I mean, what Esther's just said about the fact that women should be able to choose, obviously I completely agree. And, men should be able to choose as well. I think the feminist critique of traditional gender roles and gender ideology isn't that some people like to stay at home and others don't. It's that you shouldn't be bound to pursue a certain life based on the sex that you were born into at birth. The one issue I do have is I know actually a friend of mine whose sister got involved in the trad wife movement in the US, basically. She was quite young. She got married to someone who was like, this is what we're doing. You're going to be a trad wife. And basically came to regret it. She felt like she'd been controlled, like her life became very small, and she couldn't get out.
You see, feminists, they love to blow things out of proportion. They love to try and drag everyone else down with exceptions to a rule. And yeah, they can't bear it.
Couldn't escape because, she'd lost all her friends and this has become basically her entire life. And it concerns me that sometimes we see this narrative on social media that women have to be a certain way in order to get a husband. So you have to be this particular model of femininity for people to love you. And I think that's really sad because I don't think anyone should have to shave off any parts of themselves to be loved or to...
You don't think anyone should have to shave off any parts of themselves to be loved and da-da-da-da. I know where this rhetoric is going. Actually being in a relationship, you're going to have to shave off different parts of yourself. That sounds really wrong, but you are going to have to shed layers of skin in a relationship because all human beings and throughout all of life, we're continually evolving and adapting to things. And sometimes you're going to have to agree on things that you might not want to agree with both ways, man and woman. Sometimes you're going to have to negotiate on things. And, this idea that this is gynocentrism and feminism at its finest, because it's this idea that I am perfect and I don't have to do anything to improve and someone should just love me for everything I am right now. It's like, no, you're inevitably going to change and ultimately that person's going to end up resenting you if they love you for only what you are right now because they're not going to be able to evolve in that love with you as they develop in a healthy relationship. So it's fundamentally flawed and it explains why most feminists, throughout history, the whole feminist movement, they tend to not have kids and not be married. And that's because their ideologies are flawed. So thus it prohibits them from being able to have healthy, successful interpersonal relationships.
All right, Pearl, what do you think?
I think it's a good that we're seeing a return to traditionalism. Yeah, I think it's a good thing.
How
I don't know.
How is the feminist movement of the last few decades? How has it gone for you? When you look at it and see how women have progressed, do you think it's been largely a force for good, or do you think, as the trad wives do, that perhaps we've lost that sense of gender rules, for want of a better phrase, which actually work very well for many people?
We've seen families disappear. I saw a study the other day that said only 25% of, this is an American stat, but American households have families. So I guess there's positives and there's negatives, but it's like at what cost,
What to you?
150 years ago, the average woman had 7 kids, 85% of people were married.
There was also much higher infant mortality and women died very young and,
women were more depressed than ever before. We're on antidepressants. Women over the age of 45 are the least happy demographic.
There are a lot of very
complex
reasons for that.
Well,
I think
and the issue you have is women like Emilyrowski, marriage, again, I've said this before, marriage isn't marriage anymore. The average marriage is 7 years. We have things like no-fault divorce, leave if you're unhappy. So
what does that mean, marriage isn't marriage anymore? Because there have been so many marriages over the course of history.
She doesn't actually want to listen. She's so irritating.
Where people have been very unhappy, either the man or the woman has been very unhappy, and they've been forced basically to stay in a marriage. It could have been an abusive marriage, it could have been an emotionally abusive marriage. And that would, we have one life. Why would you spend it with someone who doesn't make you happy?
Marriage was about duty. And this is the problem we have with women. Men tend to be better people than us. Yeah, they really do. They tend to... They tend to do the right thing.
They are a much maligned species, I agree.
There's a reason we have phrases like a man of his word. Right?
Yeah.
It's not a woman of her word. Because men will actually stick things out. Women, when shit gets hard, we just leave. And you're proving my point. What was your first answer? My happiness, right?
Of course. Everyone deserves to be happy. Everyone deserves to be loved.
The family doesn't.
She thinks she's presenting in a way, but she can't actually see from the outside how she's coming across.
Work when it's about you. It's supposed to be about your kids.
Well,
And that's the
it's supposed
problem
to be
in
about
modern
everyone.
No,
There's
no,
a
no,
balance
no.
and a compromise
okay,
in relationships.
Do you think
Am I allowed to talk now? Or
Okay,
am I allowed
go
to
ahead.
You've been talking the whole time trying to interrupt. You literally have not let Pearl say a single sentence without coming in and interrupting. Let her say her point and then you can talk. But you don't let her say her point. You just butt in every 2 seconds because you don't actually want to hear what she has to say and have an intellectual debate. You simply want to reign supreme, which is what modern feminism has produced. It's produced these narcissistic women that just want to be, the loudest in the room. And
Go ahead.
Look, I think relationships are about balance. They're about compromise. They're about knowing, understanding yourself, learning to, know and understand another person. Eventually, potentially, if you want to, bringing children into the world and teaching them how to do that as well. Teaching them to balance a sense of their own identity with the love that they have for another person. And, for example, I know an older woman, actually, who's a friend of our family, who got divorced at about 60. She had, this lovely family. They were together since they were 18. And she said, I got to a point after I'd stopped being a mother and, I was just kind of getting on, I realized I'd lost my sense of who I was. And I didn't really feel like I knew who I was anymore because I'd always just been a wife and a mother. And I wanted to go out and explore that. And I think that's fantastic. Good for her.
What is traditionalism?
I don't know what you think traditionalism is.
I would say a modern.
see what I mean? Like, she's just so on edge. Like, what do you think? No, she asked you a question. What do you think traditionalism is? Just say what you think traditionalism is. Why is it so hard to just communicate basically? She clearly has all of these presuppositions and, presumptions and assumptions going on in her head. She can't even just respond.
Mentality is me before the family. I would say traditionalism is the family before me, especially in women.
You're onto something.
And so what it's interesting you said 60-year-olds because, I've interviewed 600, 700 people roughly in the past year and a half. I've done hundreds of shows interviewing people about relationships. And what I find is the 60-year-olds a lot of those women led their daughters astray. There's a reason we're in this mess.
See, she's literally just said, I have spoken to hundreds of women. You've given one example, a personal family example. So clearly you're attached emotionally to that personal family example. But instead of hearing someone who's literally presenting a data set to you and actually hearing the conclusions of said data set, look at her face. She can't even hear the reality. She's taking it as an attack because she clearly has a lot of presuppositions going on about Pearl. It really frustrates me when I see these kind of interviews because I actually feel so bad for Pearl because I'm like, do they get her on there to actually hear like what it is that she's done as she's observed? Because she has a fair data set and a fair amount of findings to share with the world. Like, she has done hundreds and hundreds of interviews, and you can take of that data what you want, but it's like, do you actually want to hear what she has to say? Or like, do you just want to argue with her because something about her triggers you? It's so annoying. I just want to see one person actually listen to what Pearl has to say, and if they then actually still disagree, like, I just want to see someone actually have an intellectual debate with Pearl, because women can't do it. They can't do it. Not that I've seen. I've not seen a woman be able to have an actual intellectual debate with Pearl. I just see women who just they listen to respond. They don't actually want to take what she's saying and then come back with an actual response. It's all just emotional responses.
Right? A lot of those women had the wrong mentality when it came to marriage and had exactly the mentality that you're talking about.
Which is that one should prioritize balancing one's own sense of identity with compromise in a relationship with someone else.
It's myself before the marriage.
But that's, again,
and it's really unfortunate because I would say the women of our generation really are suffering because of the advice of the women of the past.
There's an interesting point here, right, which is that we do live in a very individualistic society, and we're all told, actually, I think a lot of the time, in our relationships as well, you have to be a certain way if you want to receive love. You have to abide by these norms. Yeah. You have to be a certain level of attractiveness. You have to earn a certain amount of money. It's all about you. And that's not what love is.
All right,
love is
all right, listen, it's actually been
She's gone round in a whole circle.
very interesting listening to this. Let me bring it back in Esty. So Esty, in terms of trad values, like my wife puts the bins out, for example, right? I've never asked her to. She's just adopted that role in our house. So I never put the bins out. I don't know if I should feel ashamed of myself. I do other stuff, but I don't put the bins out. As a trad wife, do you put your bins out? Is that part of the gender rule of the 50s? Is that what used to happen? Or is the man supposed to do that? I mean, how do these rules work in reality?
To be honest, it has nothing, I don't want to say nothing. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the 50s and the 60s. Especially in our household, I enjoy the aesthetic, and I think that's where people get a little mixed up with my channel. But well, to answer your question, actually, I don't put the trash bins out. My husband does that, but I think we have this this thing in our household where he does most of the outdoor work. I do all the indoor work. Of course, he works and provides, and I'm the homemaker. That's what works for us. But
And in relation to what Pearl said, is part of that a sense of being dutiful and having no problem actually with being dutiful in a marriage?
Yes, I believe that traditionalism it is putting your family before yourself, and I think it is having those traditional values that were once definitely more in place in God, family, and love. And we live in a very selfish society now. You know, you see self-love printed everywhere, right? And women, speaking of divorce and marriage, women are leaving marriage far more easier than men, and they are doing it because they think there's something better out there for them, that the grass is greener on the other side, and they're finding out that is wrong, and they're going through divorce after divorce. And you know, marriage is a bond, and it's a sacred bond where two become one under God, and that's beautiful, and you have to protect that at all costs. And I think part of that is putting your partner's needs before your own every single day. And I try and do my best, and I think of my husband as much as I can and what will please him and make him happy.
I love the sound of this. Sorry, I mean, obviously I don't. I wouldn't dare to express an opinion.
I think that's, you know, a lovely way to think about relationships.
Oh, Piers. Oh, obviously I don't. I wouldn't dare to express an opinion.
If it's reciprocal.
Yes.
You're talking about God and family and tradition.
This is the
Paul,
problem.
can I please
women always
finish
keep
my
score.
sentence?
Life isn't about
I thought
keeping
women
score.
were supposed to, you know, recognise their place and learn not to speak over other people. No, so look, I think it's reciprocated. You talked there about religion, about Christianity, and about self-love. You know, the kind of most important commandment. There's two most important commandments: love your neighbour as yourself. So that requires a foundation of self-love and respect for oneself and knowledge of one's own identity and what one wants.
You see how she's talking to her? She's so patronising. So patronising. Little does she know, this married woman who's obviously very happy is probably thinking, yeah, keep trying to tell me how I should live my life. I'm happy. I don't care what you have to say.
To be able to receive and give the love that you're going to have in a solid and healthy relationship, I think it has to be mutual.
You're not looking forward to getting you all back in about 10 years' time to see if either of you two are married.
Yes.
And have stayed married. And to see particularly, Esty, if you're still married and still happily married and still feel exactly the same way you do today about what marriage should be. That would be a really interesting show in about 10 years.
Notice the one who has something to say. Notice the one that pipes up. Oh my gosh.
Happy we are in general with our lives and all the other many...
Oh, because even if she's divorced, even if she's still single, she'll be like, I'm so happy with my cats. Yeah. Wow, that was... Oh, I keep forgetting her name. I should really, really pay more attention. I'm actually very sorry to this lady because I do keep forgetting her name and that's rather rude. But she's a mission to listen to. She's so like, I don't even know how to describe it. Anyway, it's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up on your way out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with all of my content and I will see you very, very soon in the next one. Take care.